Let's talk about the final topic, which is what we call contextualization. Now, what does it mean? Basically, we think that information should always be organized. And what we're trying to do with routine is to help you organize information without even realizing it. It's kind of getting organized by itself. And so the idea is that when you create information, you should always do it in the context that it relates to. If it relates to an event, create information in the event itself. If it relates to someone, you could always create a task or information there in the person's profile. It would be a lot better because, again, in the future, in routine, you will be able to find back your information based on the context. Now, you might think that this task here, actually, there was another way to create it, like let's say call designer here. I could have actually opened the dashboard, say call designer, and type today to schedule it for today. If I press enter, you might think that you have achieved the same result as creating the task in the notes. Well, you'd be slightly wrong, so let me show you why. If you go to the agenda, you will see that you've got two tasks now called designers. The last one I created to the dashboard is actually living in the void. It's not attached to any context. Whereas this one, as you can see, relates to the meeting in which we actually created the task. So we are always one click away from being brought back to the context in question, which is a meeting, read more about the notes in question, and maybe take a decision on what actually needs to be done. So even though those two tasks might look very similar, you can see that in practice, one is a lot better because it allows you to link to other information very easily. So that's why we really encourage you to actually create information in the context it relates to. Let me end with a final example to show a shortcoming and introduce you to the final functionality, which is really important. Let's say I want to send an invoice to a client. I don't have to do it right now, so I'm going to save it in my inbox for later. And maybe after a few days or a week, I'm going to browse through my inbox and I'm going to stumble upon that task. And I'm going to think, oh yes, I need to do this. But wait, before I schedule or postpone the task, I would like to move the task to the context, as I mentioned, because I've actually have something with everything related to a project. So I would like to move the task there. So actually you could open the task and do this and move, or you could actually also do the right click, or you could actually use the keyboard shortcut, the way you prefer. Now, if you were to do this, you could then specify the object in routine where you want to move the object to. So project A, if I validate project A, then I can actually use the search or command F to go to project A. It happens to be a page in another page and so on. This task, I can move it around if I want to, and then I could decide to schedule or postpone it. The problem is that it takes a long time. I had to save it in my inbox, then actually move it around, and then I can finally plan. It's just too many steps. So that's why we have another mechanism, which we call redirection, which allows you, when you create an when you create an item, to specify where to save it in your system. Let me show you. Send invoice. You can use the chevron or greater than symbol to indicate where to save it, in which notes to create the item. And because every object in routine has notes, it means you can create it anywhere. It could be in another task, it could be in a page, in a person, in an event, in a calendar, and so on and so forth. So if I were to do project A, I would achieve the same result as before, the skipping the going through the inbox and the move to and so on. So that's really, really useful. But even more, I could actually plan. I could say this and project A. That works as well. But let's take it a bit further. Sending an invoice is most likely something you don't do once, but maybe, I don't know, every month, on a regular basis anyway. So I'm going to create a recurring task. As you can see, the icon has changed now. But you know what? I don't want it to recur on the first of the month but on the 10th. So I'm going to say starting on the 10th of October. So that every month on the 10th, a new occurrence of that recurring task will be created. Okay? And now I'm going to say I want to organize this in project A. But even more, you could say with the slash separator, you could indicate under which heading you want to save the task. So let's say P1. If you were to validate this, you can see now a new recurring task has been created in your notes, neatly under P1. You cannot tick the task because it is another type of object. It's a recurring task. However, you can see that it is every month on the 10th, and because it's an object in routine, you can open it to take notes, or you can see the frequency, you can stop, or you can change the frequency if you wanted to, and so on and so forth. This redirection mechanism is particularly powerful as well for remembering something related to an event in the future. Maybe you want to discuss, I don't know, a logo problem in your next marketing meeting. So all you have to do is this. Your next marketing thing happens on Thursday. You validate, you create the task, and if you go to Thursday, which is tomorrow actually, you can see that the event has some notes. When the event takes place, open the event and you will be reminded that you need to do something. As simple as this. That's basically it for everything related to contextualization.